right, I'd like to call the School District of North Fond du Lac School Board meeting to order on Monday, October 28th, 2013 at 7:05 in the district meeting room. Next item on our agenda is roll call.
Chisholm?
Here.
Duffy?
Here.
Golowski?
Yes.
Hawk, yes, and Pilat? We have a quorum.
Next item on our agenda is report on public notice. Mr. Sadov.
Thank you, Mr. Duffy. Public notices and agendas were mailed to the Fond du Lac Reporter, radio station KFIZ, and WFDL Radio, and also posted at the U.S. Bank Municipal Building and District Office on Thursday, October 24th, 2013.
Thank you. Would you please stand for the pledge of allegiance? Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on our agenda is approval of minutes. Do board members have any changes to note? Okay, seeing none, we'll approve the minutes as presented. Next item is treasurer's report. Mr. Chisholm.
Treasurer's report as of October 28, 2013, cash balance on hand as of September 23rd, $40,914.91. Receipts totaling $121,309.99 have been received. Expenditures, $1,370,556.53, resulting in a cash balance on hand of $91,688.37. In addition, there are expenditures totaling $1,363,751.60 to be approved.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Hawk. Discussion?
I just had a comment for Maria. Thank you for breaking down the BMO, so I know, it's just not a fixed number. I know we talked about it a while back, and I appreciate that, so I can see what that's all going for. That was one area that was kind of just kind of thrown in there, and we didn't really know. I didn't know. You guys might have known what it was all about, but I did not. So thanks for doing that, because in the line item now for me. So, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Duffy?
Yes.
Hawk, yes. Pilat? Chisholm?
Yes.
And Golowski?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Next item on our agenda is the clerk's report. Mr. Hawk.
Okay, we have board received some thank you notes this month. I'll pass them around here. Thank you from Linda Kresbach, who's our social worker, for the memorial on the death of her father, Sam Nargis. Thank you from Cliff Unertle for a memorial on the death of his brother. Thank you from Teresa Galligan, again another unfortunate memorial on the death of her mom. And also a thank you note from the Touchdown Club for donation that we made of some items for the tailgate, I'm assuming raffle and event. That's all.
That is it. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is student council report. Pape.
We had our Spookogram sales, which is selling caramel apple suckers. It is 1 for 50 cents or 3 for $1. They were sold all of last week, today, and tomorrow, and they would be delivered on this Thursday, which is Halloween. The money goes toward our student council for family night and supplies for other fundraisers that we may do in the future. This Thursday, we also have the Halloween dress-up day. School dress code applies, and you cannot cover your face. We also established our membership and appreciation committees. We actually had our first membership committee meeting today, which was headed by our secretary, Jessica Stefani. Our goal with this committee is to establish a set of rules of what is excused and unexcused, and to notify members who have missed too many meetings. This committee is important because it recognizes the members who actually show up. Our appreciation committee is headed by Michael Friedel, our vice president. The goal of this committee is to show gratitude towards our staff, and our first meeting will be next Monday. We also have Teacher Appreciation Breakfast coming up on November 13th, which is an early release. We will be cooking in the Family and Consumer Ed room, and we will have bacon, sausage, eggs, pastries, orange juice, and milk, which the teachers will be able to eat in the high school commons.
School board too, or
I hope welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for that. The next item on our agenda is citizens input. I'll open up citizens input at 7:10. Any citizen wishing to be heard? Again, any citizen wishing to be heard? And one final time, any citizen wishing to be heard? Seeing none, we will close the citizens input at 7:11. Next item is superintendent's report. Mr. Sato.
Thank you, Mr. Duffy. Exciting, we have some opportunity to hear about a great program that's helping students realize and prepare for the goal of higher education, and that's Upward Bound Math and Science. So Gary here and his team are here, and we have some of the students out there also that are going to share a little bit about that information. We also have Dr. Richard Zimman, who's going to be sharing information about Neola, which is, there's also an actual board agenda item in the new business. It's something, a program that I think we've visited. I know we visited about 6-7 years ago. Going back to it, I think it's something that's really going to help us and can really get us on the right track with our policies, bylaws, and also administrative rules and guidelines. We also have Jim Ronayne and Aramark to talk a little food. I've been told that there's going to be some good jokes, or at least a joke, a food joke, which I'm really looking forward to. No pressure.
Thanks, Aaron.
Yes, yes.
Those cookies.
Yes. And also then an opportunity to have Melanie talk a little bit about a dedication that her school at Friendship really does a great job of allowing UW-Oshkosh, not just UW-Oshkosh, but Ripon and other surrounding colleges to use as a laboratory to help prepare the future educators, and they were recognized with an award from UW-Oshkosh. And then finally, some really huge hoedown type of information about what we're going to be hosting in 2015. It's this right now, and just to tell you, there's some works to get the World Cup and the Olympics if possible. So round and square dance right now, and from there more. Also, you'll notice that the administrators prepared their board reports, back up doing that again. Had time to go through that, and it'll also be available to ask any questions. So without any further ado, I'll turn it over to Gary and the Upward Bound group.
Is there a particular place to stand? Okay. All right. Wherever you are. All right. Good evening, everybody. I would like to thank the board for allowing us to be here, and thank you, Mr. Sadoff, for inviting us to come. Thank you so much. My name is Gary Moise, and I'm visiting from Marian University and director of the Upward Bound Math and Science program. Before we get into further, I would like to quickly introduce my colleague, Chris Durkin, and Mrs. Terry Durkin as well from Marian University, who are with us. And tonight, our objective is to talk to you about the Upward Bound Math and Science program. I'm not going to say too much. We have two students here, Nicholas Ingebrigtsen and Tiana Robinson. They're going to tell you about their experience in the program. But before that, I would like to especially acknowledge Mrs. Fryman and her staff at the Horace Mann High School who have really helped us have a successful year and tremendous support. I can't even go to the details right now. So without any further ado, I would like to call forward Nick and Tiana to tell you about their experience in the program and what we are doing in the Fond du Lac area. Thank you.
an awesome experience being in UVMS. I met a lot of people because there was only select few people from my school that came. There was a ton of people from Fondy, so I made a lot of new friends. I wrote down a bunch of notes. So in this program, usually every Friday they would take us on a trip, and we would go, like the upperclassmen would go and tour colleges. And that was a real eye-opener for some of the students because they would teach us about the admissions process. We got to tour the colleges. They were just local colleges. But really it kind of hit a couple of the students and like, you know, this is coming. And it was just an awesome experience to see that, you know, not many kids in my grade have even toured a college yet or even applied to a college, being a senior. So for them to be in this program and visit these colleges, I think was an awesome opportunity. And we had fun while doing it. When we were in that program, we took an ACT prep, the juniors and seniors did, every Tuesday and Thursday, and that was huge help because it boosted my ACT score definitely. So what we would do is we would go in there and we had a teacher, he was also our chemistry teacher, and he would go through this giant ACT book with us. Like we'd go for section by section. I mean, it was tedious, but it definitely helped. So it's a great program. They help you with everything that you need for school. Another one of the trips that they would take us on was to Discovery World in Milwaukee. That was amazing because all the stuff that we were learning in the program really tied together, especially in our physics class that we were learning. It tied everything together, and it was a lot of hands-on experience, which was awesome, which brings me to the next topic about physics. Physics, we had a physics class this year taught by Dr. Morris, and he was awesome. We did labs every time we were in his class. We built rockets, we did disc launchers. We got to actually go outside and like see how far and calculate how high the rocket went. It was a lot of fun. So that really tied into the Discovery World, and he actually inspired me to take a physics class this year. So also, oh yeah, in math class, there was two separate math classes. There was a lower math class and the upper math class. I believe she showed this video in both of them. We learned about factorials or fractals, that's what it is, yeah. So that was really cool to see because we got to see how it incorporated in like movies and how they use it like in special effects, and it was amazing. So this program is definitely amazing, and I would offer it to any student to join, whether they're a senior or a freshman in high school. It's definitely something that you would not want to pass up. So.
Karen, can you tell us how you qualify and what group can apply and be part of this program?
I believe anybody can apply, and it's basically geared toward first-generation college students and students who need help in financial aid as well. So, yeah, it's a really great program, and I'm really glad that I qualified. I wouldn't change it for the world.
Shannon, can you share with everyone what your plans are for after high school?
After high school, I plan on getting a mechanical engineering degree at UW-Platteville.
You've been accepted, right?
Yes, I was accepted to Platteville. I actually got accepted to 3 other schools after that. So, Nick.
All right. Well, off of all the stuff that she said, I agree with all of that.
Sorry, that's why I was like, you probably should have
Yeah,
there,
she
because I had like
covered-
a list here.
She covered almost everything. But aside from that, we also had different workshops when we weren't in the summer school. We had a financial aid one that I had to miss, but I ended up learning a lot from the flashcards that Chris showed me. And I also learned a lot about like how to save and better study habits, because my study habits were terrible before UVMS. But overall, I wouldn't change it for the world.
I also liked the program. I mean, it was like first year program, awesome time, and the fact that they would mix us together, like when we went on field trips together, it wasn't like separated by classes. We are just like one big family. And I just recently, this Saturday, we did Make a Difference Day. And we had a bunch of kids from UVMS come together, and we were raking leaves, and we had a blast. It was really an awesome time. We got to rake leaves and play with tarps, and we got to actually meet the owner that we were raking his leaves. He was 92. Sweet guy. It's awesome. So I love the big family aspect. Yeah.
So do you meet like once a week, once a month?
We usually meet twice a month.
Well, during the academic year, we have different programs. Sometimes it will be 2 to 4 programs, different programs relating to college preparation for the students. And then during the summer, it's a 6-week-long program where the students come to class on Monday to Thursday, and then on Fridays we take them to field trips, relating to their class experience as well.
They really gear us toward math and science, hence the upward bound math and science. You think that, oh, a firefighter's not going to have math and science in their career. We just recently had a presentation on it, and it's awesome because they gave us all these presentations that we get to attend to, like they're required, and they're amazing because they teach us how everything that they taught us in summer school, like the classes that we took during the summer, they teach us at these presentations how it applies to real life. And that definitely helps out because there's some jobs out there like there's no way to use that, and then you actually get a presentation on it and it's like, wow, that's like their everyday life. So we have one coming up for healthcare.
Yes.
So yeah.
Thank you. And a few things I would like to add in terms of what the program is. It's a federally funded program designed to support that student population in Fond du Lac where they are first generation to college and etc. But the main objective, particularly for Upward Bound Math and Science, is to give them strong foundation in mathematics and science so they can pursue careers that require, especially field in the STEM areas, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And so that's why we are trying to make contact with professionals in town to help the students see, hey, in the future I can be such and such person using mathematics and science in my career. Yes.
I was going to ask that question. Was the highlight the firefighters who came and talked to you? because the reason I asked that is because we met that night, Gary, in the fire truck. I had 2 of my guys came and talked to you.
Okay.
Corey and Carl.
They were awesome.
And they did a good job.
Yeah, they were awesome.
Would,
I didn't get to stay for the whole presentation, but I stayed through half of it, and it was awesome.
I wasn't there for the presentation, but we came and showed the fire truck off. That's about as far as I can go with math and science. So, but I'm glad you enjoyed the guys.
Yeah,
and,
it was awesome.
I'm sure it wasn't a highlight of your program, but I'm sure hopefully it helped a little bit. And
Oh, yes.
I'm glad you brought it up because I will relay it to the gentleman that you guys appreciate what they did for us. So.
Yeah,
And
it was awesome.
one of the reasons we do that is to show the students, there are different fields. You may not be doing well, or you may not be interested in mathematics and science, but in the future it's going to come back in many fields that you're in. Construction, electricity, anything. So the mathematics, for me, I never knew firefighting professionals. They go through some formula before they they survey the area using some mathematical formula. I mean, that was amazing. So we want to expose the students to those. If you don't want to do certain things, but at least you have an appreciation for it. And perhaps those students who don't know what they want to do, they have an opportunity to think about something else. And last thing I want to mention is the program is a partnership between Marian University, Fond du Lac High School, and Horace Mann High School to help those students pursue college degrees in the field of their choice. So it doesn't even have to be at Marian, it's wherever they want to go to college, wherever they get the opportunity. So basically, thank you very much for all of your support, and we encourage you to continue to support the program. If you want to know more about it, and feel free to contact the school office and the district office as well, and they will put you in touch with us, and we'll be more than happy to help you learn more about UBMS. Thank you.
I have a question for our students.
Okay.
Did this program influence in any way your post-high school plans?
Yeah.
In what way?
I was originally planning on going into the medical field. Like, I was kind of thinking about surgeon or something along those lines. But through chemistry class that we had in there, I kind of lean more towards chemical engineering now. And I've been looking at Platteville, like, sheets.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Great school.
What about you?
Well, I kind of had my mindset, but when I went to this program, when they, like the chemistry class and the physics class is the one that got me. That really intrigued me because before I had to miss like the first week of this program because I was at an engineering camp, and at this engineering camp we built solar panels. So when I came here and I learned all the background stuff on it, that we built in my physics class that really made me think, well, maybe, no, it made me know for sure that engineering is what I wanted to do for my career. And being in all of the math classes was like reiterating all the stuff that I learned in the like past years. It was great. It really taught me some leadership skills too, because we had the upperclassmen. We did an English motion. I can't think of the word. It was we got everybody involved into one big motion. It was like we started. Someone ran in with a boombox, and we got everybody in the lunchroom to dance. So that's kind of what we were going for. We were trying to make a difference and get everybody involved, so that one outcast wasn't by himself. We got everybody involved. It was a giant thing, and it was a big success. So we had fun.
So since you're going into engineering, the next time that we chat, I'd like to have a conversation with you about what we can learn from the Tacoma Narrows Bridge disaster.
Okay, I will research that.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. All right.
Whatever mine had.
And now for something just as engaging, policies and bylaws.
You know, as the former superintendent of the Ripon Area School District, I thought Aaron owed me for stealing Maria away from us. Instead, there's an old saw in show business, never follow an act with, pets and animals. And the corollary for schools is never follow two outstanding students like that. My gosh, mechanical engineering. Well, you're going to go from one end of the spectrum to the other here this evening, that's for sure. I'm Richard Zimmern. I'm, as I said, the former superintendent of Ripon. Some people say I'm retired. I prefer to think of it as I'm just into my second career of an endless number. And what I'm here is that I'm now affiliated with Neola, which is a policy company. And just to give you a little bit of background, and then I just want to share a couple things, and you probably have some questions then. Neola was founded over 40 years ago, and it was founded by some superintendents who were trying to provide services to some school districts. Since then, it's been owned and operated by retired superintendents. The most recent owner got it, 12 or 15 years ago, and he only hires retired superintendents in the 7 states in which it operates. 6 of them being Midwestern states, and then because he is now like wintering in Florida, why not get Florida as an account as well, right? So that gives him something to do. So, and the reason is that superintendents understand this work, and we're not salespeople per se. We actually kind of come at things from a whole different angle and understand how policies work. Neola now has over 1,200 clients in the United States, over 100 in Wisconsin, and the list for the Wisconsin clients is inside your folder. It's no secret. Neola is sure that if you contact any one of them, you will get positive response and information. I was in a situation in Ripon 10 years ago looking at our policy book, which A, was outdated, and B, I found it impossible to find the time and expertise and the money to keep it up and to be current. And so what happened is I looked around for alternatives. I came up again, the client list was smaller at that time, but still talked to some people and worked with the board, and we ended up engaging Neola and becoming one of their clients back in 2005. We're very satisfied with them. I retired and out of the blue got a call and said, by the way, you used us, were you satisfied and so forth, and we'd like to talk to you about now representing us. And so here I am in that capacity. So that's a little bit about the company and a little bit about me, and the whole idea is that we work with superintendents and when necessary with boards, but with superintendents because we know the business from that angle. It's not a matter of selling a product and leaving, it's a matter of actually providing support, continuing ongoing support to superintendents to help them run their districts most efficiently and effectively. So I'd like to tell you just 3 things about Neola and the services we offer, and then see if you have some questions. Number one thing to understand is that, Neola is all about providing you assistance with developing local policies. Local policies. Although it's in 7 states, every state, Neola turns to a local attorney, legal firm, in order to work with its policies. In Wisconsin, it's Davis and Kielfeld. All the policies for the Wisconsin policy book and guidelines are written by Davis and Kielfeld attorneys. Some of them are very similar to those in other states because, in fact, they're federal law. But many of them have a Wisconsin twist on them, which is why they take nothing from, everything goes through the local attorneys and they rewrite it in the Wisconsin way, and many of them are Wisconsin specific. So it's all about providing a local service. Then you get the local template. The local template, you have various options with. Number one is you can just say, forget it, we don't want this. Scratch. Number 2, we say, well, this is something we could use, and then become the choices. We're going to skip option 1, we're going to take option 2. In the next part, we're going to actually skip all of that part. In the next part, we're going to take option 3. In other words, we give you the templates and then help you piece it together the way it fits your district, because we know your district is different from your surrounding districts. And so therefore, you get a local policy without having a blank sheet of paper. I know how this works because I did it myself for years and worked with board members to actually do it ourselves for years. That brings me to the third thing, is at any point you can insert your own language. You can scratch things out, put things in. And finally, that brings along to the point of it all being local, is you may have some very local policies that only you have and aren't part of the template that has all the typical ones. I will tell you, in Ripon, ours was that we went through about a dozen years ago. We built a new elementary school and we went through this whole thing, what to name the school. Finally, the board decided we better have a policy on this because it got to be, before my time, a little bit raucous without any guiding policy. So they wrote a policy for it. Well, Neola doesn't have a policy for how to name your elementary school and how to name things. And so what we do is we go into your policy book, we look at the things that you have, compare them to what we have in terms of our templates, and the things that are uniquely North Fond du Lac, we ask you, do you want to lift these in their entirety or make any changes to them, and we bring them right in for your policy book. So from start to finish, it's a Wisconsin product, and you get to weave it together the way you want, and you get to keep all of your local unique policies that you want to. And in the end, if you contact people in these, they won't tell you they're Neola policies, they'll tell you they're our policies, because there's a sense. When they come back, everything always comes back to you as the board for approval or change in whatever your internal process is, whether you have a policy committee or you have any other way that in order for you to work with these. So that's number one, and that's the foremost thing, is it really is all local. It's just giving you assistance that's local. We do this with almost a quarter of the school districts in Wisconsin. The second thing to remember is that we are building a sustainable system for you. We're all going to come and go. There will be new board members at some point. There will be a new superintendent at some point. There will be new administrators at some point. And the question is there a system to keep this going? What do you have? I will tell you, in my situation, there was no system except the superintendent was supposed to do it. And I didn't have the time, and our budget did not have the money in the legal fund to me to hire lawyers to keep writing all of this stuff. And the board didn't have the time to sit through it. Now, I will tell you, several districts ago, I was in a district, and there's a 7-person board, and 3 of the people on the board were attorneys. They were all on the policy committee. They loved those meetings. They met for hours and hours and hours. I can't, those were the longest meetings of the month. Here it was, when you retire from being a superintendent, you think, oh, I won't have to go to board meetings anymore. This is my second one tonight. So, but they would go till after midnight. They loved writing policy, and think about it. So it worked for them. But for most boards, it just doesn't work. You need a system outside. This guy doesn't have enough hours of the day in order to do it. We become your system, and it's financially feasible because, in fact, you're basically pooling resources with the 100+ other school districts in Wisconsin to buy discounted legal service in terms of policy. If you think about it, that's really what the system is. So it creates a system, so it just flows twice a year. We will bring updates for you. So not only do you get the initial updated policies and guidelines, but then twice a year through the subscription service, I meet with Aaron and whoever he wants with a thick packet that my eyeballs always bulged out at as a superintendent, but I knew that meant that everything was always going to be totally up to date with any new laws, any new court decisions, any new arbitration decisions. Sometimes there are things happening in other states and you want them to, and the wave is coming and you want to get ahead of the wave. Sometimes there are issues that districts themselves bring up and Neola tries to get in front and provide assistance so that everything was always up to date. So they're local and it's a system that will actually, someone's got to keep their eye on the ball. Neola is the person basically you hire to keep their eye on the ball, which frees up your superintendent and you and your legal budget from having to do that. So it's local, it's a sustainable system, and the third thing is that it provides you with the solution to your fiduciary responsibility to the citizens of your school district. You're entrusted to kind of make sure that in this litigious society that all of a sudden you're not going to get all these lawsuits and for which you're going to pay endless legal fees and then awards. And again, I've been in districts where multi-million-dollar awards have been given out because basically policies weren't up to date, procedures weren't followed, and bingo, it's payday for somebody. Neola guarantees that if you use our policies and you follow them, that you will be okay and will stand by you if there ever is any legal action in order to do that. These are warranted policies and guidelines that Neola provides to you. And with that, then you can say to people, I've done my job as a board member. I felt that as a superintendent. I've done my job as the administrator of this district, that I have given the district the very best that I can give in terms of maintaining its fiduciary responsibility. So they're local, it's a sustainable system, and you have a fiduciary responsibility that you have fulfilled. Aaron's put up on the screen, the Ripon School District website. I know in a lot of places they like to go and show you demonstration websites. You know, then you get something and it doesn't work the way the salesperson showed it to you. So I just show you a real website. This is Ripon. I'm familiar with it. He's going to bylaws and policies. You see it comes up that fast in real time. These are all the bylaws and policies. He can go to any one of these, click on one, and bingo, there it is. This also provides transparency. This is part of what you can, part of the service is that there's this website. If you notice up at the URL at the top, you see it says neola.com, Ripon, Wisconsin. And so what happens is it's actually hosting it. It's all that is done for the district. No one in the district has to do anything. Literally within a week of you passing policy, this is updated in less than a week, and anybody can look at it. I can tell you that if you notice right where Aaron's pointing now, there's a keyword search. You want to look for bully, you just simply click on it, and there you're going to end up with 11 matchings for bullies. There are forms, there are guidelines, there are policies. The bylaws are included. The bylaws are how you govern yourself. All right, that's board governance. A lot of that comes out of how you govern yourself as a board. The policy is what it is that you want to do as a board. The administrative guidelines then tells these folks, here are the procedures to follow. Doesn't matter if one of them gets replaced, the procedures keep going. You don't lose all that institutional history. Everything's set in stone, following the procedures that you as a board to say, this is how we want our policies to be followed. Forms are also included in this. I don't know.
We'd have to log in if we were.
yeah, we'd have to be back inside the Ripon School District to do that. So what you can see is forms are also included in this, and you can put in other links as well. In this case, we put in the link for the state because we wanted access to the special education regulations.
And just to give you a little bit farther background, we had, this is my 5th year, and John and Ryan and I sat on a committee with Maria and started to go through these. And we've done a lot of work already in digitalizing and looking at some of them, but this would take us to that next level. And to say that the laws have changed and different things have come about in the last 2 years, I think would be an understatement. Currently, right now, that analogy of building an airplane while it's flying is kind of what's going on with public education and what's going on within how we are supposed to govern, what we're supposed to do. Even right now, there's a lot of question about what area the state should be following, what decision, and what your policies should do in order to make that happen. One of the other things I know is that the administrative team has worked really hard on, looking at how we do volunteers, looking at how we do background checks, looking at how we pass handbooks. All those bylaws, administrative guidelines, if you will, not bylaws, excuse me, are things that I really look forward to having more substantial so that we have more of a standard of procedure that reflects North Fond du Lac. Currently what we have is we have in our board on here, and then you'll see our policies, and what we do is we have all of our policies up to date and scanned, and what it comes down to is a book like about this thick. And what we have right now is we have we have the Bs and the BA, and a lot of that correlates to 100, 200, 300. But we also have a lot of linking, if you will, where if there's like a weapons and school policy for students, there's also one for the public, there's also one for staff. And this is a nice way that Neola would then put it all together and make it digital so that we don't even have to worry about doing that. So what we would be doing is working with Richard. He said that he would be our point person, right?
Right. I'm in.
All right.
You're stuck with me.
Okay. And what we would do is we'd look at our bylaws and policies, audit our current ones, work to update, edit, delete, and develop, and approve missing policies, because I'm sure there's some in there that we don't even know we should be having. And there's some that I think we still have a beeper policy that we should probably look at. I don't think we have to worry about beepers all that much. I also know that in the bylaws there's something about meeting in the high school library, which we haven't met in the high school library in how long. So clean those things up, but then the digitalized hosting, that legal defense, we budget about $10,000 a year for legal fees-ish. And we've been utilizing that because of our continual change of policies. We're way ahead of the game, I think, with our guides. So we're going to have a lot of this there, but this will give us that peace of mind. Davis and Keelthal is a very reputable legal firm. We go with Boardman and Clark, Mike Jolka from Madison. Davis and Keelthal is in the Valley, more so.
Well, they're in Oshkosh.
In Oshkosh, yes.
Well, they're all over the state. They have offices all over the state.
Yep, and they're excellent. And the nice thing, like Richard said too, a standard of procedure. This is something that outlasts any of us. And for the first time probably in about 30 years, we could say, you know what? We have up-to-date policies that aren't they're to the point, we can enforce them, we know what they are, and it's something that I think for the price that we looked at, $7,750 for the bylaws and the policies, and that includes publishing them. You get hard copies, all of that. It'd be good to go, we could stop there. And then the $7,750 then would be for the bylaws, administration.
The guidelines.
The guidelines, excuse me. I keep getting that confused. The guidelines, which would be excellent for our administrative team to sit down and say, hey, let's just hammer this out. We got a lot in place. It's going to be like bringing things together and say, hey, here's our home. And then after that, we're looking at publishing them online, which is $4,400. And then after that, we're looking at yearly services where we can and we don't have to. We can do a once a year for 12 or for right around $1,000. We can do 2 times a year. And that's something we can look at. But that initial cost wouldn't all be in one chunk, although we have it in the budget. It would be, we get the price by signing now, and then we make installments, or we pay it up front for the bylaws and the policies. Then they wait till they publish it. Once it's published online, then we pay for that. So it's not going to be a one big hit, but as we go into the new items, if we approve this, we're going to get a savings because prices are going up in December. But also what I'm really excited about this is that this will really help. I think the board and myself
our main job is policy creation. And then administration's main job is make sure that they're enforced and followed through. And I'm really looking forward to the consideration of the board to work with Richard and look at how Neola can make us stronger and better as we move forward.
My job is to work with the superintendent, and then he'll work with any process that you have. As I say, come on site at a minimum of twice a year with the updates. If there are any special updates, like when Act 10 came in, there were all kinds of special things. Those, no charge. That's just you know, a special update that everybody gets because everything's changed for special situations. We also, and what happens is provides that, and then he works it through your process. Now, to do the bylaws and policies takes about a year, and then to do the administrative guidelines takes about a year. So it is, and it's not by the hour or anything else. It's a set price. We just know that's about what it takes to work with Aaron, have enough sessions, put it through your process, have you finally say, oh, you know, approve it, and then we're on to the next thing immediately. You know, my goal is to get it done as fast as possible. His goal is he's got other things to do as well as you do. You don't want every meeting to be all about policy all the time. So we know that it takes about a year to kind of work this through in a reasonable fashion. And so that at the end of 2 years, your upfront work is all done. You have everything totally up to date, and then it's just a matter of doing the subscription service, which is just roughly $2,740 a year. And for that, you're going to get the hosting fee on the website, and you're going to get the twice a year special updates. And again, all the updating is done by the Neola lawyers, by the Davis and Keelthal, meeting face-to-face with the superintendent, answering questions. He also has my phone number and my website. Believe me, I used to call my rep. I used to email my rep with questions because a board member would say something comes up at a meeting, and I'd say, I'll call Mr. Neola tomorrow. And of course, I would get on the phone and I'd be able to have an answer back to whatever it is. So as the president of the owner of the company says, he says he'd like to say that the great growth of this company is because of something special he's done, but he realizes that that's not really what it is. It's just a question that state governments and federal governments and the courts are becoming more and more and more involved in education, not less. And so it's becoming more and more, there's more and more legalese that has to be involved. And people are simply saying, this is the most economical and the most efficient way of dealing with it, is become part of a consortium, basically, and deal with it that way. And do it that way. And then they feel strongly enough about it to be able to warranty the policies so that there's a sense of protection there.
Question on your
Yes.
policies.
Sure.
You say the lawyers, so the year, which obviously must take time because they must go through our policy by policy and read all our language, and do they rewrite language that's outdated that fits the times?
No, what will happen is you will have a non-discrimination policy, right? You're going to have a non-discrimination policy. You're going to have an anti-bullying policy. We have an anti-bullying policy and a non-discrimination policy, Family Medical Leave Act. We have all of that stuff. What happens is we know ours is fully vetted, all right? So we'll say, here's ours. We'll stand behind this one because we know it's written exactly up to date, exactly in the way it needs to be, all right? And so we'll say, you know, our recommendation is you take ours, leave yours behind. However, you might have one of those unique policies on something that Neola doesn't have. So we'll match up your policies with ours, and we'll essentially find where all of the cross-referencing is. And it'll be a pretty close match, except you'll be missing probably 25 to 35% of what we have, because you just won't have as complete a policy. And then we'll say, you know, you really should have something for this, and something for this, and something for this. And then we'll say, here's what you have. I was continually amazed, because I was pretty up to date on things, I always thought, as superintendent.
Top notch, Dr. Zimmer.
Nod your head, Maria. Yes. And what happened is, and yet every 6 months, my rep would show up and go, well, okay, we have to change this and change that. I said, why are we changing these? And he'd say, well, you know, the federal government passed the GINA Act. I said, the what? He said, you know, the Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act. I said, so that means you have to change like 8 policies in order to include those requirements. I said, I haven't even heard of this. I mean, I'm reading all these journals and manuals and going to workshops and conferences and everything else. Says, why aren't people telling me? That was every time he'd sit down with me, I'd say, I can't believe, you know, all the stuff that is out there that I thought I would have been up on and just wasn't. We've all heard about the anti-bullying legislation, the state law that comes through. It's this other stuff you don't ever hear about. And I don't know about you, but when you came through, you had to do the anti-bullying law, for example. How did you come up with that? I
Well,
mean,
you know, what we did is WASB. What are their model policies? And we'll still get all those resources, but I had contacted WASB 4 years ago and wanted to start working with them. The thing about WASB that's different is they'll charge you per hour or and it's very, well, what do you want? Well, how can we work with you? And I don't know what I want because I don't know what's all there. I don't know, you know, to say, would you please vet these? And that's a service they don't have. They help you in what you need, and we still will continually get ideas from WASB, and they're still going to be a resource for us. But the policy, but their program to help with policy development isn't as defined and isn't as poignant as what Neola delivers. And looking at these things, a main difference that I'm hearing tonight from when Neola came and kind of had an idea and presented before was, as Dr. Zimmons told me, it's about us. It's what we want. They're going to sell us the product that's most important for us. And if we have a policy that's 90% there, theirs is 100% there, and it has nothing to do with the local flair or the school song, I'm thinking that we're going to be okay with that and we're going to be good to go. You know, I mean, because there's all these different litigious things. And another thing that's very exciting, Samantha and I were sitting and talking today just about some processes, about administrative processes, to know what other schools and what other districts do. So that, I mean, that's what this policy, what this process would do for us, is we'd find out, well, how do you go about handling volunteers or disciplinary things or guidebook recommendations and development. We're going to get that information if we go with Neola from all other districts so we can have best practice.
oftentimes the parent complaints and where you get, and when parents start coming in with lawyers and so forth, is not actually about the policy. It's about the way the policy has been enacted. It's the administrative guidelines. And if you read the news, it's usually about those processes Aaron talks about. So as a superintendent, I was never as concerned about the policies. I was more concerned about the administrative guidelines, which happened to be much longer than the policies in more detail, because then I knew that every principal was following it exactly the same way. And the board, it always came before the board. That's the way I worked it, because I wanted them to make sure that they approved of those procedures, because then they said, okay, we will do it exactly the way that it's said here. And because it was online, whenever there was a question, any administrator simply had to look it up online. We weren't worried about different, about other issues. And any parents, I can't tell you how many parents I walk through the process over the phone. Okay, you're in front of a computer. Okay, let me show you kind of where that policy is. And it just kind of dispelled the whole kind of lot of issues that otherwise would. This is the way we're working it through. Oh, okay. Makes sense.
Well, Richard, I was around the last time that we looked at this, and I remember there were a couple concerns at the time, and you've touched on both of them, and rather well in some cases. But just to go over that, the first one was a feeling that Neola was telling us, we're going to tell you what you need. We don't really care about these little rinky-dink local things you have. That we know best, and that turned some of the board members, a little negative. So
I think Neola has learned.
Okay. Well, that's what you say. You said we can keep those.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And then the other thing was the cost, of course. That you've touched on that. Maybe could you expand a little bit more on actual areas, dollars we're going to save by, what's the initial startup in the $17,000 range, did you say?
Well, $7,750. Okay, will get you in the first year, we'll get you the policy, we'll get the policy up and running. Right?
Okay.
Once that gets rolling, then in year 2, we'll put those policies up online. The first half of that up online policy, first part of that will be $2,200. That's kind of the first half year. You can break that $4,400 into across 2 years. So in year one, you're $7,750. In year two, you're $2,200 to publish, plus you are $7,750 to do the administrative guidelines. And then the subscription service will start in year two. There is no subscription service in year one because everything's up to date. We're verifying it's up to date. But by year two, things start being up to date. So that would be $2,190. In year three, you're paying the other $2,200 to get the website set up. You're paying $550 for the annual website maintenance fee, and you're paying the $2,190. By year four, all you're paying is the $550 for the website maintenance and the $2,190 for the updates, and that goes on into the future unless there are price increases. That becomes the subscription service. Because then all we're doing is maintaining everything. We've got you all set. You've paid for your policies, you've paid for your guidelines, you've paid for the website. Everything then is just a maintenance subscription. And at about $2,700, that's about, to me, that was a bargain that I could say as a superintendent based upon what it would cost me in legal fees and whatnot if I tried to do all that myself.
And that's
Is
something
that laid out for you?
that we could envelop into our legal fees that we budget anyways, because that would be a big part of it, especially when we get these administrative guidelines done. That's a lot of the questions that I would have when I call our attorneys anyways.
So you're saying what we pay now to let the clerk would be reduced, and that's where you're finding some of the cost savings?
And what I did is I just put the big number first that we budget, and then it's gonna be less because it'll be spread out over time. But just to kind of give you an over idea of what it's gonna cost, get that sticker shock, if you will. But then the residuals of what we're gonna get from it are gonna be the peace of mind, and to have an updated policy book. And that's what I'm really excited about is our due diligence, and what the board is all about is making those policies and following through. And you guys have articulated numerous times, and I really appreciate it. We want to be consistent. We want to be legal. We want to be fair. We want to be equitable. And all those things start from that root of the base of policies. And
I'm most
that's-
looking forward to sitting down with Aaron twice a year and being able to go through all this and try and teach him all this so that he can explain it to you. Maybe I'll come and listen to the explanation.
It's like the Colonel and I'm Rambo, huh?
So I have a question.
Yes.
From what I'm hearing, Aaron, we probably don't have a really good, concise collection of administrative rules and procedures.
Oh, we do. I mean, they've worked for the past 80 years. I mean, we do things and we're legal. We have.
I mean, they've written down and.
Yeah, we have our, how we go about doing our volunteer thing. They're not all together in one area. That would be very nice. Yeah.
So, if you went with the full program here, are the administrative rules posted on the website as well, or just the
Yes.
policies?
Yes.
So a parent who's got a question about my student did this, they can go to the policies and read what the policy is, and okay, then they go to the administrative rules and say, these are the consequences.
No, well, the administrative rules are more, it doesn't say if this happens, this will happen to you. We don't want to do that.
It says
We wanna-
here's the process.
Here's the process. And then within that process is where we vet out that fairness, looking at the variables. And that's kind of, you know, the way that we've done, and which I appreciate, is looking at every individual case is different, but yet there should be some commonality. And that's the neat thing about the policies that we have, and I was talking to Richard about this, is creating policies that are specific, but also give latitude for application. And then those administrative guidelines is spelling out the way that you go about doing things, but still give the latitude to deal with the individual and the circumstances in a legal way.
In the policy rule, it then reference to the administrative rule, which we follow. So
Yes.
they know, so people are thinking, well, where's it in? It's gonna say,
Yeah.
this policy says this, administrative rules that govern this.
They have the same numbers, and if you use the keyword search, they'll both come up. But what you're looking for is again, a consistent a consistent process that you're going through that will always be applied, and that you, as you hire new people and as the board changes membership, that the process is written down somewhere, and that it's the best process. No one's going to say, you can't do that, that's discriminatory, or that's not the way the state statute reads, or don't you know the law was changed 2 years ago, or there was a court decision, 6 months ago somewhere else that said that it has to be done a different way. All that's covered, because that's what happens. Now, if you want to password protect all that stuff, you can. Neola recommends that you open it all up so you have full transparency to your community.
I have a question too. You talked about some of the policies that we'd like to add to them, to add in North Fond du Lac ideals.
Yeah.
As far
So
as
if you want to put something about fire truck, mandatory visits to the fire station.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's
you
where I'm
can
kind
do
of
that.
going with this
Yeah.
anyway. So, but I mean, if we would do that, as far as validating the policy, would you guys do that from a legal aspect? Would you look at it and say, okay, your additions to the policy is, would you validate the legal correctness of that, or will we have to do that with somebody else, or is there a charge for that again? Or
Yeah.
that's just part of the startup?
What would happen is, if something was illegal, we would tell you. I've had to tell my board sometimes that you can't really do that, there's a law against doing that. If it's something like naming a school, it doesn't really matter. They're your rules. You set them up the way that you want to set it up. So we would make sure that you're not saying, well, you can only have males on the selection committee. We would say, nah, you really can't do that, right? Or something that's blatant. But otherwise, if you go in and want to put in something that has legal ramifications, then we would advise you to make sure you check with your attorney to make sure that legally you're okay with that. And we have. I mean, I've checked with our attorney. It turns out that our attorneys, what we used was Davis and Kielthal anyway. And we'd call up and say, okay, we were looking at this policy here, and we're looking at that, and then say, well, if you want to put that idea into it, then you would probably want to write it this way. So we'd say, okay, we'll write it that way, and then we just insert that line into it, and then we now have it legally okay from the Neola standpoint, and then our own attorney, our own legal firm has said this is the way to write it. We insert. Then we were covered.
All right. Well, thank you. I just had Richard, I know what time, so I had him present now. And then when we go into new business, we can talk a little bit more. And if you have any questions, I can also share a little bit more.
I'll stick around in case there are any.
All right. And now it's that time.
Cookies.
It's Jim Ronayne and his team to talk about food service, what's going on, the excitement of things. And if you want, you can just use food right there. And meeting new people or helping to serve us. And maybe a little bit of a foreshadow. We have to go out to bid this year.
We do.
So this will be a good time to ask some questions too of Aeromark if you have any questions. Very, very happy, and with Aeromark, we now have our lunch program in the summer and breakfast that is all free to the whole entire community. We've got breakfast for every child at Early Learning Center, that's covered also. And soup is rocking and rolling. I think it's cold enough now for soup. And without any further ado, I give you Mr. Ronayne and Aeromark.
Thank you.
I did make copies of the presentation, so if you want to take notes and jot some of those things down, feel free to do that. I've been the food service director in Fond du Lac for the last 10 years and just started our 11th year.
I'm Gail Chrysler Busquero. I am the food service manager here in North Fond du Lac, and I am going into my 8th year.
Gail is also a product of the school district North Fond du Lac.
I know, I graduated from here.
And I'm Kathleen Bradley. I am the new registered dietitian for the Fond du Lac School District, and I'm also the new assistant director with Aeromark.
We also have Linda Flores' name up here. She is, continues to be the district manager for us and apologizes for not being here tonight. And I gave Brian Mann the night off. You may remember Brian, he was my assistant food service director a number of years ago, got promoted and went to Cedarburg, but he still supports us by being a ServSafe instructor and proctor. So Brian is home enjoying his baby. Julie Eberts has worked for us for 9 years. She actually started at the water school in Fond du Lac and is running the Bessie Ellen Horace Mann kitchen here. Well, that's one of the nice things about Fond du Lac and North Fond du Lac, the partnership we have together. We share people all the time. Actually, this year, I think we switched 3 different people back and forth, and I think it was a win-win for everybody. But we have a total of about 13 employees that serve about 1,250 meals per day. That's up about 50 meals versus last year. Tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about what our highlights were for last year. Then we're going to talk about the financials, not only this year, but the upcoming school year. And then we're going to give you some highlights for next year as well. Okay.
Some of the things that we've done in the past and we will continue to do is post the daily nutritional analysis on the district website. It not only helps any diabetic students, but it also helps their nursing staff and anybody who wants to watch their weight. We offer salad daily at all levels, from kindergarten through high school, and we're exceeding the USDA guidelines as far as what we need to be serving and how many calories we need to be offering. And all of our bread grains are whole grains at all levels.
You want to talk a little bit about the different salads that we have at the school that we're trying out?
This year we've tried out chicken Caesar, an Italian pizza salad, a ham chef salad, a beef nacho salad. So we have pretty innovative and new salads this year. They seem to be going pretty well.
Again, this is our 8th year. We just finished our 8th year, starting our 9th year partnership with the school district of North Fond du Lac. One of the neat things, again, is not only do we share the food services, but we also share a lot of the equipment. If we need something to go back and forth once in a while, if we have a catering event that we need an extra hot box or 2, we can bring that over. If we have people that just happen to be off because the schedules are different, we can bring them back and forth. It's just a wonderful partnership that we have with the school districts. We are also a training ground for the Great Lakes West region. Not only did Brian Mann get promoted out of Fond du Lac, but you may have heard about Beth Ann Abraham, who is now over in the Reedsburg School District. She was our RD last year and doing a wonderful job out in Reedsburg. But we'll also bring in people that are just starting with the company for the first couple of weeks. They'll get their feet wet, so to speak, in Fond du Lac, learn from the best, and then we'll ship them on and take their output elsewhere.
And that's another thing that I do. I go to other districts and help them out. I went down to Reedsburg and helped Beth Ann get things set up and going. So I learn from other districts and the ideas that they have also.
Beth Ann also taught 3 Serve Safe classes last year. Since we don't have one on staff now, Brian will come up from Cedarburg, or actually come around the corner from Fond du Lac where he lives, and do the classes for us in the upcoming school year. Last year, and actually for 2 years, we've been partners with the ProStart program, where we would purchase the chef's coats for the students here at Horace Mann High School, and then we also purchased some life sets and other kitchen equipment for them.
The burners that they need for the cooking. Last year I taught a healthy snack lesson to Alpha-Ed students. They were really interested in, I brought in like the veggie chips and things like that they've never tried. I'm like, oh, these are really good. Some of them were actually eating them instead of potato chips. It helps. We're an active member of the Healthy Kids and Community Coalition with Fond du Lac County.
Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I just joined both of those committees, and I took over for Beth Ann's position, and we've already had 2 meetings so far, and it's such a great community program. One's associated with the YMCA, and the other one you meet at the Riverside Elementary School, but it's not only Fond du Lac, we talk about North Fond du Lac as well, trying to better just the lives of the community members and the students as well. And so I'm really looking forward to being a part of it and to continue on what Beth Ann did. A few things that we were working on so far was just working with like the e-farmers markets around here, as well as just kind of creating some ways for the students to be more active around the community. We have some walk to school days, and we're trying to correlate some like more 5K races or bike races and things like that, just to kind of get the community more involved in health and wellness. It's a really great thing.
We have an ongoing safety committee. We meet once a month, and we go to all the different schools in the North Fond du Lac and Fond du Lac district as a group and there's at least one representative from every school, and, you know, we discuss, you know, knife safety, struck by injuries, and all the safety that you can think of in a kitchen, not only just food safety, but also injury safety. Then we go through the kitchens and see, you know, a fresh set of eyes in somebody else's kitchen. Oh, well, you know, maybe you should move that there because it's, you know, blocking the breaker panel or something. So it's kind of a really neat thing that we do. We also have a daily safety brief. So every day we meet as a group for 5 minutes and discuss different safety topics every day. So it's kind of neat. As Aaron mentioned, the soup is up and running. Started at the beginning of October and will run probably through April. And Jim had mentioned that we do the universal free breakfast at ALC.
One of the neat things about the soup is that there's no other school district that I know of that does the enhancement of the soup for the students. And really anybody can get it. And we sell, and we don't sell, we give it away basically as just as an enhancement to the meal. And how many gallons do you make every day?
I make about between 250 and 300 servings a day.
It's just a wonderful program.
And I make it homemade every morning. So.
This was the second year that we did summer school at Bessie Allen, and that was for all grade levels. Meals for the summer school were up about 6%. And when you look at that, we served over 7,000 meals during the summer during those 23 days of service. That's really amazing. 330 a day. This is just a couple of our partnerships that we have from the last year. Unfortunately, for this upcoming year, we had to take Arts for Kids off of that. I should have left that up for 2012, 2013. Unfortunately, Arts for Kids has decided to go in-house in the program. These are some of the numbers that we've had over the past couple of years, just some of the highlights. As you notice, our breakfast has increased substantially over the last 8 years. Lunch really had a peak in 07, 08, and then it's kind of going up a little bit as we move forward, but nothing as significant as breakfast. The neat thing about this is that as we continue to increase the meal prices and get higher reimbursements from the federal government, the revenue for the district continues to climb considerably. And the bottom line is a very good bottom line, $75,000 return for a district that's got $550,000 in revenue is a little over 13%, and if you can run a business and make 13%, you're doing pretty good with that. All of those revenues that are generated by the food services department need to be spent in the food service department, so you can't purchase textbooks or teachers or things like that, but you can make certain enhancements to the food service program. That is my spiel for a walk-in cooler over at Bessie Allen sometime in the next couple of years. So we'll see if we've got anything left over. We did buy a new delivery van a couple of years back.
Right now, we're working on the cooler of the high school went out, so we're working on getting that and getting a safer stove that Friendship. Well, it's not really safer, but
A more modern, the standing pilot light is definitely something we want to get rid of.
You don't like that Vulcan monster that's over there?
We got our money's worth out of that one, yes.
Yeah.
it works
Came over on a
great,
Mayflower, I
but-
think.
Yeah.
But that's our job, is to bring in the food service revenue to make sure that we've got enough money to spend on the equipment upgrades. We don't want to spend anything out of the general fund, that's for sure. Okay. Last year, I said that we were going to do 219,000 meals. We actually did 223,000. So kudos to Gail and her team for bringing that in. Our revenue was slightly higher, mainly due to the Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act, which for every lunch that we serve, we got an extra 6 cents additionally for that, which is about $7,800 worth of revenue. And our return was 10,000 more. I always like to give a conservative estimate on whenever I'm doing the budget, and then you're wowed whenever we exceed that. So with that in mind, this upcoming school year, being very conservative with the number of meals that we're going to increase only about 0.5% to 224,000 meals. Revenue up about 15,000, and the same with expenses. So the return for this upcoming school year should still be around 75,000. Okay. And just as a note on the bottom, we did increase prices, which we had to do by law for the last 3 years, and that was a 10-cent increase each year.
Coming up in the school year, we'll continue the soup daily at Bessie Allen and Horace Mann. We do a fuel program for our middle and somewhat high school, it'll bring in different recipes and different promotions for the month. We do ACES Health Heroes for the second graders. It promotes nutrition awareness, and then they get like a little premium, like this month is a color changing cup, a reusable cup.
Next month it's a fire truck they get together.
I haven't seen this month yet.
I was gonna bring samples. I apologize for that. Had I known there was a fireman in the room.
Next month. We are following the Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act. There are many changes that have come about. In order to get that 6 cent reimbursement, we're going above and beyond that program. Some of the changes, it's going to be mandatory that a student selects a fruit or a vegetable with each meal, both breakfast and lunch. We're kind of doing that already. We're ahead of the curve a little bit, where they either have to take a fruit or a juice at breakfast, they have to take a fruit or a vegetable at lunch. The biggest challenge is, getting them to eat it once they take it.
If they can just try it or try a little bit of it, that's really the key.
Which is what we're working on with our fresh fruit and vegetable bars. We're putting out different items. Every day there's, fresh fruit, a canned fruit, a fresh vegetable, and then we'll have like either a hot vegetable on the line for them to try something. Breakfast change from prior years, qualifying for a reimbursable meal. Kathleen, do you want to discuss the changes this year?
Well, putting on the spot a little bit. But,
I'm sorry.
as far as what qualifies for reimbursement?
Yeah, over breakfast like last year. Like now they have to take the fruit and the juice, and then there's the bread grating requirements. that are
Yes.
different.
So for the reimbursable meals, in order for it to qualify, they actually do have to take a full what's called 2 grains. And so as you'll notice with the meals, there'll be a more substantial grain requirement. And so if they get a muffin, it won't just be like a blueberry muffin. They'll also have to have some type of additional thing, maybe like graham crackers. Maybe they'll have like toast with that or something. And also they will, like what Gail said, they'll need to have a fruit to go along with it. And so they're going to try to have more of a variety with that. And also they'll need to have a milk option. And I think they'll have a variety of that too. It won't just be like the 1%. They could have skim or maybe even a chocolate milk or something like that.
Chocolate is fat-free.
Yes.
Yes. Empty bowls. As part of the Leadership Fond du Lac team, the alumni put together an event every year, and I got to be chair a couple years ago, so I'm going to plug this one. If you're not doing anything, looking for something to do, we are selling soup for $15. All proceeds go to all the Fond du Lac County food pantries. And you get a bowl, and the students at Horace Mann High School have made some of those bowls, as well as Fond du Lac High School, Campbellsport, Oakfield. They donate all those. That's December 4th. I think we serve from 11 to 1, and that's at the Retlaw, the older Medical Plaza Hotel.
To go along with the Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act, I ordered some new curriculum for 1st through 5th grade that I can go in the classrooms and continue the classroom education, but it will go along with the new Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act. WKC breakfast, we've been discussing this a lot. And at the high school, they're going to have a hot option. At the middle school, they're going to have like 4 different grab-and-go options to come through. And the elementary school, we're actually going to deliver it to the classrooms this year.
And then each student gets a no-charge breakfast for that.
Make sure they get something to eat before they take those tests. Horace Mann, we're doing a deli bar twice a week. That's going to continue. We're doing it daily at Bessie Allen. And we do a fruit and fresh fruit at the high school. Fresh fruit enhancement, where they get the kiwis and the melons and the strawberries, and other than just the basic fruit, they get enhancement. Payments online are going to continue through the district websites. We're going to continue with the safety committee, and as Jim mentioned, unfortunately, Arts for Kids is no longer in the program. We did start a universal free breakfast at our ELC for our kindergartens this year. And I think it's going pretty well. There was a couple bumps to figure out in the beginning, but it's going pretty well. I will again do a healthy snack lesson at ALC. And Mr. Roney passed out some Healthy for Life flyers that we post, or we have set up outside of the school offices for the parents to take home.
And just another resource, and I forgot the joke, so we'll have to end with a joke instead of starting with the jokes. How do you fix a broken pizza? Does anybody know how to fix a broken pizza? Come on. Well, with tomato paste, of course. Now, that's why I don't do the jokes anymore. I wish I don't do jokes. Right?
That was worth the wait.
Aaron made me do that only because I didn't do you have any other questions or?
Give him the hook.
One other thing too is looking at Friendship possibly in time, kind of working through with some free breakfast also.
We're working on getting a universal free going at the Friendship building also.
What's interesting in Fond du Lac is we have a school, Roberts Elementary School, which has about 40% free readers. And they decided to go to a paid breakfast. So if you're a free student, you'd get it for free. If you're a paid student, you would pay for it. And we were doing 50 breakfasts in the cafeteria each day. Now we're up to doing 200 breakfasts in the classrooms at Roberts, and they only have 40% free readers. So I think that at Friendship that could really substantially, get everybody on breakfast.
Ours is just over 50%.
What determines or how do you qualify for the universal free?
That's just something that the district decides to do. Once you get over the 70% threshold, it becomes a no-brainer, and you're just going to, continue to make money. Unfortunately, with Roberts, if they're in the 40%, if they went to universal free, where everybody got a free breakfast, the district would actually lose money at that particular point. So that's why the paid students either choose not to be in the program, or they would pay for their breakfast at that point. But 70% is the key.
I did go through some financials with our free and reduced at the elementary school. And like Aaron said, we're just over 50%, so it'll be pretty much a break-even program, depending upon if we can get everybody to participate or not.
For instance, at ELC, where it's universal free breakfast, it costs the district $750 about for the entire year. So $750 is our contribution at the district from that food fund, which we have to spend on food service. And then every student gets it. That's not per week, not per month, for the whole year, which then ensures that every student has a
About,
free lunch.
what are we doing, about 80?
About 80 a day.
80 a day.
So everybody at ELC gets breakfast?
Yep.
Kindergarten.
If they want.
Not 4K, kindergarten.
Kindergarten gets breakfast and Alta-Red gets breakfast, but not 4K.
Thanks, Aaron.
I got a question for you.
Okay.
The mandatory student fruit and vegetable, what is the mandatory requirement from? Federal, state, local?
Federal.
Federal.
So it's federal requirement.
It used to be, well, you could have an offer versus serve program where you could decline 2 items, you'd have to take 3. Now you have to take 3 still, but you can't deny both the fruit and the vegetable. You have to have one of the other.
Or half and half.
So what's your opinion of the students that are taking that? How many of them are actually trying it, and how many of them are just taking it to comply and pitching it?
I say most of them will try and take some things. What's kind of neat is we have fresh fruit and vegetable bars at all the schools, so they can take a couple of baby carrots, or they can take a couple of grapes, or maybe part of pineapple or something like that, and then just go that way. In the past, I have seen students, especially at the middle school level, take an apple, walk 2 steps, and just dump it in the garbage. But if we can get through to 90% of the students that at least try it, a couple of bites, something like that, I tell them to keep the apple or sell it to your friends, but they don't. It's a good point.
When I'm serving at Friendship, they'll come through and they're like, oh, we have green beans, and I'm like, we take just one. Just try one for me. And probably 50% of them will actually try one bean standing right there in front of me. And sometimes I get to eat them, sometimes I can't. But I try.
I have something to add too for that also, is that the key also is for us to focus in on more of the younger students as well, so that whenever they go throughout their period of the education, that becomes more of a routine for them as well, so that it might be something new to them at first in like kindergarten, 1st, 2nd grade, but then by the time they get all the way through high school, it's something that's routine, they know that they should be taking, and they end up acquiring more of a palate for the variety of the fruits and vegetables too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, I got one other question. What is your perception based, just let's say middle school, high school? How many kids nowadays bring cold lunch? Is it like
Bring cold lunch or actually?
bring your lunch and bring cold lunch? Is it like 10%?
20% at the middle school, probably 30% at the high school, but how much gets eaten?
I see, I don't know how
I'm
it's
just
done
curious.
this year, but I've seen a lot of kids in the past that haven't really eaten lunch, especially like at the middle school.
Teenage girls are notorious for that, for not eating anything.
Boys aren't any better nowadays, so. I have 4 boys.
So I think it's very good.
I was a cold lunch kid in school too. I was too. Well, that was still easy,
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right, have a good one, guys.
Thanks.
All right, moving on. We're going to move on to the next part. Melanie, just want to say congratulations for earning the Cooperating School Award. If you want to just tell the board a little bit about what happened and when Mary Beth came down and kind of what that all entailed and why you were recognized.
The certificate and letter indicates that there is a opportunity to be recognized through UW-Oshkosh for partnerships that involve practicum opportunities for students at the university level and also student teaching opportunities. And we were recognized this year as that partner. So every year they choose a different partner, and that's just to show appreciation for that partnership that we have maintained over the course of years to support new teachers going into the profession through those opportunities to work with current teachers in our building to learn a lot about different programs, learn a lot about different students, learn a lot about different districts, and we generally try to do our very best to keep that partnership alive because we feel responsible for those new teachers coming into our profession.
And it's worked out quite well. Some of our practicing student teachers, actually, it was almost like an interview where we get to have them for quite a while and we get to find out what they're really like.
And some of our practicum students have become our student teachers as well, so sometimes it's a long-term relationship. And I just got through talking to someone who taught for us, who currently works in another district, but said please always keep her in mind because she loves our school and she thinks very highly of our district and she would like to return.
All right. Well done, Melanie. Well done. And I know that Samantha and Adam will time host a lot of student teachers, and I think that's one of the critical parts of how education continue to move forward is you learn only so much in school. And we have a lot of, I think, great initiatives and a lot of good focus on student learning. And I think that our teachers that cooperate and have those teachers come in are giving up a lot because they want to be with that class, but they learn a lot too. So thank you very much. Really quick, just want to give a quick shout out about in the middle of summer, the National Square and Round Convention. Now, square dancing is yeehaw, do-si-do. Round, there's callers for round dancing, but how that's different is that the caller will say, all right, everybody, get ready to waltz. And now we're waltzing. All right, everybody, get ready to cha-cha. And now we're cha-chaing and the music switches. It's kind of like, I think, old school DJing to a different crowd, if you will. So they call it different things. So what's going to happen is we're going to have 600 to 800 square and round dancers converge on Horace Mann and Bessie Allen in the first week of August of 2015. We worked out a price for them to rent it, and we get 100% of all the concessions. They'll be using a lot of the different rooms, and they're actually going to rent a chiller to air condition the Bessie Allen gym because they figure, it might get a little hot in there in August. So working with the Association of Commerce, the Visitors Bureau, should be fun. Just want to give everybody a heads up. There'll be more information coming up. If anybody's interested in going to Rothschild up in Wausau area, we're going to do a little scouting next fall to see what it's all going to entail. So we get a school vehicle if anybody wants to go up and hoe down a little bit and get, do some do-si-do. And Adam, I can see you're already kind of jacked up about it. That'd be, I think, a great thing for us to bond.
I was just going to go on the record and just say, I know Samantha and I were talking, and she has entered this competition the last 4 years, I think, so it will be exciting to see her on our home field in a couple of years. So.
Yeah, that's great. Good luck on that one, yeah. Excellent.
We were around.
Yeah.
I did teach square dancing in Fayette in a former life, but haven't entered.
And they're talking. They were so funny when they came in and looked around and we could do this. We're gonna use that. And Dave was there with us. It was they're quite the. We're also gonna have some RVs parked back here. It's gonna be off the hook. It's gonna be the real deal. You know, when we're working with Chuck at the village, we'll get a little extra police presence with that crowd. I don't know what's gonna happen. You know, so it should be pretty good. So just a heads up on that. Get ready for that.
You're gonna get a sequin outfit.
You know what, I saw you on last year's past winter, so Dr. Zimmerman may be calling. We might see him not only as a Neola rep, but he might be going for his Caller of the Year award at that specific event.
I think we need a no leisure suit policy.
Hey, I can't, it's whatever they want to wear. I don't know, there might be a leisure suit night. This year the theme is magic. Last year it was everything's green. What they're gonna do for 2015 is, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. All right, and now I know that you've had time to review our administrative board reports. And just a really neat story quick, Adam didn't really kind of know exactly what he should put in there. He emailed me something and I emailed him back, I don't like it. I love it. But he didn't read the last part and got a little nervous and asked what's wrong, so it worked out well. So, but thank you guys very much. Do you have any questions of our administrators on the reports?
No questions. I do want to say thanks to those who are sending me the weekly reports too. Those are very helpful without having kids around anymore in the buildings to know what's going on. And you know, a lot of it won't apply to me or that, but it's just nice to know what's happening and seeing what everybody's doing.
So, what are they sending you? Is that
Their weekly staff, are they staff newsletters that you?
Bulletins or for the week.
Karen had mentioned, but if we wanted them, we should.
When they share a document, Johnny's still trying to figure out what that is.
I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm way behind. So if I don't open it up, it's because I have no idea. I try getting it, then I forget my password, and I start forgetting. So if I have it open, I probably have many of them out there. So
I would be interested in receiving those as well.
You get mine, I send it to you.
I think Deb just sent me
Is
one.
that a shared on Google?
Share it on Google.
Okay.
Melanie's a PDF.
I'll show you. So it's here. I got one from Debbie, or I got one from Sam, but I have no idea what that is.
Adam's got a weekly one that's s'mores online also.
And there's a board member's email group, right? If I just send it out to the whole board.
Yeah, your best bet is just put their names, Pete Chisholm, and they'll know not to respond. And if you get like, they normally, the staff doesn't respond to those anyway, so you should be safe. But if you see anything where they start to respond and you start getting information, then we can figure out a different avenue to get you that information. But yeah, just include them. Great.
Yeah, I kind of asked you, Deb asked me something, you sent me something, Deb, I invited you to contact 5 days ago, and I said, how would you like to respond? I'm like, I have no idea. So it's taking me time. I'm a dinosaur to get through this stuff, so I don't know. Not that I'm ignoring it, I just don't understand it.
You should know tomorrow, the staff flu shots, that's just a reminder. I'll get that out here as a reminder that it's been in my stuff, but.
Is that in here?
Yep.
All right, that's
all right. Any other announcements?
Not that I can think of.
All right. Moving on to their new business. First item is approve Anthony Rasmussen extra duty contract for show choir.
I'll make that.
Motion by Mr. Hawk. Second by Mr. Golubsky.
Unbelievable. If you didn't see Wednesday, we had our first ever fall concert. The uniforms, the professionalism.
Yeah, it was just it was the first inaugural. Anthony was super excited, a little bit nervous. We had our choir perform and then 2 numbers from the show choir, so it was about 45 minutes-ish. And he had snacks and the comes afterwards, and we had a really good crowd. Several staff members, former students, parents, you name it. So it was just, it was a really positive thing. So.
And he's already doing this. This is just something that the board, with all of our extra duty, to issue these contracts, and we hadn't. issued it to him yet, so that's what this is for.
This is nothing new, it's just something done.
For him. Before it was Amy Grismer, before that was Patrick Kirby, so it's just, it's getting him the extra duty contract.
The amount is the percentage of his total wage, is that how you?
It's the same, well, it's the same as it has been in the past, I believe it's $1,047.98 right now. And that whole extra duty, which we had looked at in the past before, is based on a percentage of our base salary that we have, and it's right around 1,000, I know it's $1,047 some odd
So
cents.
the extra duty contract is the same amount for everybody?
No, all depends, and and I can show you that extra, we have that, and we passed that before, but depending, like, football might be a higher percentage of that base salary, freshmen, the people who advisors, freshman advisors are maybe like $300. So it's all in the extra duty, which we had already passed, and I'll bring that up again when we have the escape plan that we're going to be looking at rolling out. I'm going to share a little bit in close today, and then also talk about hopefully a little bit more in depth on the November meeting, the compensation piece.
But I do hope that if you, and we'll make sure that we get that date to you again for the winter concert, would encourage all of you, if you can, to attend, because he does an excellent job. His piano skills are phenomenal. He had accompanist for the regular choir, but just a real class act. So if you're able to make it, we'll make sure we send a special invite.
Stop in his classroom too. I've seen him a couple times, like singing, playing the piano, talking to two kids, talking to me.
Sign
like,
the pass.
Yeah, just there's a lot going on. It's pretty talented.
He can play piano with his elbows, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's cool.
Yeah, and he's also a basketball coach too. As his dad said, I let him focus on this choral stuff for right now, but now once that's over, we have to start thinking a little basketball, because his dad's going to volunteer and help too. They're a driven family. It was really cool, and he actually got Jerry to go to the state music convention. Jerry hadn't been here in 20 years, and next year they're talking about staying over, maybe partying in Madison. It's something going on with Jerry, with Anthony. He was a great hire, Samantha. Way to find him.
Any other questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Hawk, yes. Kozlowski?
Yes.
Pilat? Chisholm?
Yes.
And Duffy?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Next item under new business is approved clarification to cash in lieu or insurance program. I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Chisholm.
Really, this is just something that was kind of a snafu. Didn't really take it into consideration until it happened this year, that we have a full-time staff member, and the intent is 70% more they qualify for health, or for the family plan. Under 70 for our contracted educators, from 50 to 70% could qualify for a single plan. If they don't take that, the cash in lieu says for a family plan it's $3,600 spread out over 24 equal payments, or if it's a single plan, it's $1,800 spread out over equal payments. And there's also the same counter but less money for the dental plan. With the advent of new healthcare laws and reform, we never really took into consideration the parental part of it, per se. So some of this was to change the wording where if one of our employees has their parents' insurance, then they can waive our insurance. So it saves the district money, they still have insurance. And also, if you're a full-time employee, more than 70% of a salaried employee, you're still, but you have no dependents and you're not married, you still only qualify for a single plan, not a family plan, for the cash in lieu. And we had one where there was one of our employees is a full-time employee, has no dependents, is not married, is on their family plan, or on their parents' plan, was getting cash in lieu but getting reimbursed at a family plan amount. And when we looked at that, that wasn't the intent of it. So that's what this does. It clears that up, and it just clarifies the language which you had seen when I put in the edits, and you can see kind of how it's all kind of changed. Look at. So the intent is not gone. It's actually just to clean up to make sure that it serves the intent that we had. And what my plan is to talk to that employee and say, hey, we're not looking to take the money back. That was an oversight, but from this point forward, it would be compensated at a single plan.
With that, will this be covered then under our policies, administrative stuff, that they would review that and say, hey, wait a minute, this is something we need to look at? Any other questions? Roll call?
Duffy,
Yes.
Chisholm,
Yes.
Golowski,
Yes.
Hawk, yes. Motion carried.
Okay, next item under new business is approved contract with Neola to review, update, and publish district policies. Any motion? Motion by Mr. Golowski. I'll second.
If I could, I'd like to kind of amend the recommendation to allow us to enter in agreements with Neola to update our policies, review, development, and that also include the administrator guidelines.
So there's no contract existing right now. right?
Correct.
You have to do that, so what was the wording you used there?
Recommend approval of contracts with Neola to aid in our policy review development, our policy and administrator guidelines review and development.
So if I understand from the presentation, it's policy and bylaws is the first chunk.
Right.
And then the administrative rules would be the second chunk.
And by voting for the package now, you're locking in the prices, which are, the prices are going up on January 1st.
I don't know how the rest of you guys feel, but, it is really, as I look at it, one of this board's primary responsibilities is to ensure that our policies are complete and are, intact legally. And from somebody who's voluntarily taken on consensus-based standards writing, I know that it's a difficult task to get people together. Those 3 attorneys that you have that love to do that, they are not the norm. That's, try to get a couple people to sit down and do this. I don't know, Steve, if you've had, experience doing that, but
Well, it always gets
policy
off.
work is difficult.
It's off to a good start, and after a policy or two, then it kind of fades away, so, and I got, like I said, they're that thick, so.
Yeah, sitting on the policy with Ryan, we had a meeting, we just got through just the outline of labeling. I was like, well, gee, we didn't even get really to meet them or something. So it's really, with all the changes that are happening throughout, I think it's a good investment. If you want to look at an investment that'll help protect not only ourselves, the district, and that's what we're here for. And we still have that oversight. If we see something we want to change, we still have that ability to do so. We still have that autonomy to change. Hey, wait a minute, something we don't like, but we can put in something different.
And what I really love is I love that the process that would be established, and the way that we've established our policies and our administrative guidelines is we still have that ability to look at the different variables, but we have some really good firm foundation of how we move forward. And we've been in good shape. We're not in shambles. Our policies aren't bad. We're not in any trouble legally. I just want to be proactive and even get better.
Yeah, even just the books, the notebooks that we have are kind of unwieldy. I know you converted it somewhat to the website and that, but we used to be able to get updates and put them in place, but you didn't know where they went. So sometimes you had 3 of the same ones stuffed in the thing. And so I've seen 4 superintendents intend to really clean this up, and like you said, you just don't have the time or the
expertise
in the, well, then you have to involve Jalka in that too. So I think it's expensive, but in the overall picture, it's important that we have it straightened out. So
Cheaper than the first lawsuit.
yeah, and then seeing how Richard keeps the legislators on their toes at the administrative part, because I know he'll ride herd on Aaron here, so we'll get it done pretty good.
Okay. Any other questions? See the roll call.
Golowski.
Yes.
Duffy.
Yes.
Hawk, yes. Chisholm.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. You'll be in good hands.
The middle name's Allstate. It's weird, but
Good answer. Richard Olson.
It's long.
Excellent. All right, moving on. The next item under new business, establish the 2013-2014 total school levy and tax rate.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Hawk. I'll second.
At this time, I'll turn it over to Maria for a little, how do we say, final go-through. Some exciting things that have been happening up until last week with approval of more aid for states or for schools from the governor, who ironically, what was it, the week after a Democrat entered the race, there was $100 million that was going to be put to schools to help offset property taxes. And one thing, just on that note, that's going to be something, and I was talking to Luther Olson, Senator Olson, it's structural. So in 2 years, when this is no longer there, we're not going to see a cliff like we did with the jobs funds or the stimulus money. We're not going to see that cliff. The good news is this just goes to the structural deficit of our state for years to come. So that's how that base is right there. So it won't impact us by that whole idea 2 years from now that I can already hear it, well, taxing the max. You can't tax to the max because this is actually, we're getting what, about, how much, Maria? 37,000? 51,000? Okay. So that in there, and then Maria will tell you a little bit of the changes that came from our last budget and what the levy is right now, which I can see there's a big crowd because taxes are going down, and it seems that that's how it kind of goes. So Maria.
Okay, thank you. Well, as you remember from the annual meeting, we were still waiting for some big pieces of the puzzle before we could finalize the levy. One of those pieces was the third Friday count, and we actually gained 20 FTE throughout the district, which then translated to about $43,000 in additional revenue limit. So we're still working with that rolling average. We're not quite getting the revenue limit for all of the kids that we gained, but we'll be catching up in the next 2 years then. So 20 extra FTE, and that's awesome. We were also waiting for the property values, the equalized property values. That came in $2.65 million less than last year. I kept it flat because last year we really took a hit, but it actually went down even more. So that all flows into that formula as well. And then we were also, as Aaron said, the state aid, the final state aid number, the governor passed that property tax relief bill, and that resulted in a little over $51,000 for us. However, that just offsets the tax levy. We're not really getting any extra from that, from the equalized aid. We're just going to be charging less in tax.
So pretty much the governor said, schools, you don't get more money.
Right, we get
But what you do is the property tax will go all right to the property tax relief. So, which I got a call also because there's different entities on the property bill, the tech schools, the village, and they wait to see what we do, to see where our taxes come in, to see how that impacts what they do. Since we're the only entity that has a hard cap of what we can levy.
So then, in the third year, then, unless you do something more, then the local levies will zoom up?
No, that was my fear. But what happened, but as it was explained to me, it adds to the structural deficit. So in essence, they're saying we get $51,000 more of aid from the state, period, from this point forward.
Right. So what that's going to do then is going to add to our base. So that will become the beginning number then as we keep building. So we'll get to keep that. You know, it's all going to depend on how that's divvied up between the state aid and the property taxes. But we do get to keep that amount of money if it's part of our base. So what I did was just to give you a little comparison from 12/13 to today, as well as what the estimate was in September. It's in some cases it's changed quite a bit. That last column is where I'm showing you the change between last year and this year. Revenue limit over last year was about $189,834 to the positive. We're getting $300 and some thousand in state aid, more than last year. The total levy is going down, so you can see that relationship there. And then the mill rate is also going to go down from $9.86 per thousand to $9.61 per thousand. So went
No.
down about 25 cents.
Yeah, and remember, that's average. Depending on how the values came in, and that's where, once again, probably one of the best focuses that I ever read explains that difference when you have an entity that serves different municipalities, depending on where that equalized value comes in for Friendship versus the Village versus El Dorado versus the town of Fond du Lac will impact where they're. So we won't see, everybody won't see a 25-cent decrease in their mill rate. Somebody might see a 40-cent decrease, somebody might see a 10-cent decrease. So. But overall, we're levying less resources from our community.
All right, and then you're getting very used to seeing this budget adoption worksheet, I'm sure. And then there will be the budget publication worksheet that I will put in the paper within 10 days of tonight. And that will show the levy breakdown, the levy dollar amount. It will show our original budget that we passed in September compared to the revised budget that we're looking at tonight.
And that's the front back sheet that I passed out to you.
And some of the highlights of the changes. I had originally put 70,000 in for teacher increases. We added another 5,000. I put some in for administrator increases, director of maintenance increase, and the district office staff. These are the folks that have not been part of AFSCME, so they have been taking freezes and they have been paying the WRS where AFSCME has not. I did put Neola and Baird in there just to see what that would look like. Baird is a budgeting model. Since we are getting close to paying off our debts, I would like to talk with Baird, look at their model, and kind of forecast ahead, just to see what our mill rate would do, what our tax levy would do over time, over time. And given the information that we have now, basically. Insurance savings, that's also in there. That was about $99,000. We originally built in a 9% increase. That was the maximum amount that our insurance could go up, according to WEA. This is taking it down 3% because we did meet the requirements of sending 6 people to the No and Go program. So this is with the lower percentage in there. Those are the big changes. Aaron, can you think of anything else?
We pretty much, as we're looking at what we need from our buildings and grounds. Also, we're able to do some changes that don't impact the budget. For instance, at Friendship, we're looking at, and this was something that came up last year. We talked about inclusion, what inclusion is, how we can support students. We had a Elmwood or we had in school where everybody's fully included. And what we're doing is we're doing a test for Tiffany Torres is now going to be teaching a course kind of for those students that are most at risk behavior-wise, those younger kids that aren't identified, but then can work with to learn those social skills just like we would with math or reading, and then help, instead of having them in full inclusion, then bring out when they're not okay, kind of work with them, then ease them in when it's appropriate. Then we're going to be able to fill with a long-term sub as a teacher, Amanda Huck, who's going to not get a contract to be a long-term sub for the rest of the year in a teaching capacity, and then fill with an aide, a substitute aide. So that's pretty exciting, but all these things we're able to do within the budget that we had already developed.
Right, and actually what's happening with, all of the pieces coming together now, we've actually lowered our deficit from the projected 537,000 to 429. So we've already eaten $100,000 away from that deficit.
And our goal is to even get that $200,000 less as we continue to go. So once again, I think being pragmatic and saying, hey, because we didn't have all the information. The data has continually changed. That's the thing. I mean, up until last week, when we're fortunate because part of that bill about getting that $100 million over 2 years was that our levy was, you can't shut it. was that our levy was going to be, was not going to be certified until November 6th, so we would have had a special meeting. But since they got it all done, we should be good now. And we're good also for, we can project now through next year also, since it's a biennial budget. And we're, with some personnel things and some things we'll talk about with healthcare, insurance, it's pretty exciting. Pretty exciting. And as Dr. Zimmerman said, with our food service, that's not normal. The way that we've worked with that, it's not normal to have that much of a return, which really enhances, I mean, we always want to do better, but it really enhances our food service. And it's helped us to defer some costs too, up to the point where custodial, we're able to take percentage of the time that they clean the kitchens as part of that food. So it really helps us out. And the sad thing is they're going to have to continually raise lunch prices or food prices because of the federal law where we have to get them close to what we get reimbursed. So we have a lot of positives, still a lot of work that we can do, roll up our sleeves, but a good job, and I think there's still some hay to be made, if you will, moving forward.
Maria, I see what Neola is there, Neola is not, did you take it all at once? But
I did.
Are we, that we're gonna obviously
But
pay per
it'll be
year and
half of
separate
that.
out?
It'll be half of that.
That's right, I broke it down, I think it was before that, what we had, but it's all one that you just carried over in that account then, each year, what we need to pay then, or? how-
We'll rebudget.
Just
Yeah.
rebudget?
I just want a worst case scenario. Okay.
It'll just go into the budget next year. It'll go back into the general fund and then
Bless you.
re-budgeted.
Thank you. Any questions from board members? Seeing none, roll call.
Well, first, I revise, include the levy number to make sure this is right, Maria. To establish 2013-2014 total school levy at $4,615,930.
Correct.
Hawk, yes. Duffy?
Yes.
Kowalski?
Yes.
And Chisholm?
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, next item on the agenda is closed session. I will make the motion to go to closed session for item 1, discuss potential compensation model for educators and administrators pursuant to state statute 19.85(1)(c). Item 2, discuss medical dental insurance plans and request for proposals pursuant to state statute 19.85(1)(d). And that is at 8:56. Yes. Yes.
And a second.
Is there a second?
Yes. Turn back on, yes, I'm back to left.
Duffy?
Yes.
Kowalski?
Thanks.